If I traded it all, if I gave
This is going to be another interesting segment. I have with me Barry Lewin. He is the owner of the law offices of Barry Lewin. Welcome to the show. You know, I've talked to a lot of different attorneys on my show for sure, but I've never talked. I don't think I've ever talked in the 9 years about the subject that we're going to talk about today. So welcome to the show, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. Most of what I do is medical malpractice cases, and what's involved in that is people typically come to see me when they don't understand what happened. They've gone to see a doctor, they've had surgery, something they didn't expect happened, and they don't really understand why things came out the way it did. And I would say most people are confused more than anything else when they first come in.
Okay, so that they're confused because they're angry. More than anything, they're angry probably.
You know, yeah, they are angry, and they're upset because they didn't get a clear explanation for why things didn't go the way they expected it to.
So medical malpractice, it could be what? Look, give them an idea of, like, you know, because I know for me, when my daughter was born, I could have literally done that if I wanted to because something happened terrible that they didn't listen to me for.
Yeah, and it is important that they listen to you. But really what's involved in malpractice is when a doctor doesn't pay attention or does things in a careless way that other doctors who do the same sort of thing would be more careful about. And the result is substantially worse than what you would expect because they didn't pay attention.
Right. So it doesn't necessarily, though, happen to be that they accidentally cut off the wrong whatever, right?
No, and in fact, you know, making a mistake like that is an acceptable thing in a lot of circumstances. It's making the mistake and then not fixing it or recognizing that you've done it and correcting it before you close the patient that causes the problem.
So the people that are listening, do you do free consultations to kind of help them out and find out whether their case is a viable case?
Yeah, we do. And in fact, you know, what I tell a lot of people is that what I think and what they think doesn't really determine whether it's viable or not. One of the things that's unique to suing for malpractice is that you need expert witnesses to say that what was done was substandard and that something else would have resulted in a whole different outcome. So my opinion is an educated layman's opinion, but what I think doesn't make it a case. Without that testimony, there is no case.
So that's what makes it so hard to win those kinds of cases?
That's one thing that makes it hard. And you have to have that and be able to file it under oath when you file the case at the beginning. You have to have all the records. You have to have them reviewed by a specialist in the same area that the care was given in. And you have to have that before you even start the case, which is part of why it's so difficult.
So for you, when you do a consultation, okay, first of all, you got to hear what happened.
Right.
And then you'll tell them what they need. If you feel that there's a possibility, you know, then you might tell them what they would need to gather together, and then it's a process.
Oh, it is a process, and it takes several months before you know if there's going to be a case, because when you ask for your records, which you need all your records, all your medical records, not just the specific thing that's at issue, but you need the medical records going back in time that might explain what happened on another basis. And most people can't get those records. We generally get the records for people because it's a complicated process just to get them.
Right. You can't just call them up and say, give me my records. It's a lot harder, especially now.
Well, it is. It's a lot harder than that. And no, you can't just ask for them. And when you do it the right way, you don't always get them completely the first time either.
Wow. So it is a process. Now, if you're listening to the show, maybe someone that you know might be in a situation where they feel like they, you know, didn't get the right care or whatever the reason might be. His phone number is 602-325-1141. His website is Barry Lewin, and it's Lewin. law.com. And I say that people should call and get a free consultation. I know that this isn't everyone out there. It's not. Well, it's not just a. It's a very difficult case to win, but you win them.
Yeah, we do. Most of the
Otherwise, you wouldn't do them.
Well, and you have to be very careful and selective about the cases you take. Generally, most lawyers that do this sort of work will take maybe 5 cases out of every 100 they're offered. And, you know, something the public hears a lot about is frivolous lawsuits, and the truth of the matter is that you don't take frivolous lawsuits because they cost a lot of money, they take a long time, and you're very selective. I mean, 5 out of 100 is not an unreasonable number to think about.
Now, when people, they think, I'm assuming then when someone says, I'm suing my doctor for whatever, right?
Yeah.
That they're going to get a lot of money out of that. Is that the case?
Generally, it's not the case. And in fact, statistically, if the case goes to trial, the defendants win outright the vast majority of the time. The defendants have control over which cases settle, of course, so the cases that are problems for them, they settle. Mm-hmm. But the ones that go to trial, the patient loses most of the time.
Wow. So can I ask you this? I have to ask you, because I'm sure everybody might be thinking the same. Why do it?
Why do I do it?
No, why do we? Yeah, well, why should we do it? Because we have a right to try?
You have a right to understand what's happened, and you do have a right to compensation if you aren't given the type of care you deserve and that you've paid for.
Right. Again, his website is Barry Lewin, LEWIN.com. His phone number is 602-325-1141. You're never going to know until you find out and ask. And he does free consultations for everyone. In terms of helping people, where are your offices located?
We're at Central and Earl, basically.
So in Phoenix?
Yeah, 201 East Earl.
Okay. And can you help anyone, though, from anywhere in Arizona?
Anywhere in Arizona, right.
Right.
And actually throughout the United States by associating with local counsel somewhere else.
How does it work when do they have a retainer fee? How does that work with you? Because I know with certain people they don't. So how does it work with you?
Well, generally it's done on a contingent fee basis where we get paid, if we get paid, at the end of the case out of the recovery that there is. And the people that have the claim and have the questions about the care don't have any upfront expenses involved in it. So basically it's, you've probably heard it said, if we don't recover anything, there is no fee, and that's how these are handled.
Okay. And some people want to know, will my case go to trial?
Most cases, the overwhelming majority of cases, don't go to trial. And if your case does go to trial, that's a bad thing, not a good thing.
Why is that?
Because the vast majority of those cases are won by the doctors and the hospitals, not by the patients.
Okay. Do they settle out of court a lot?
Almost all of them settle out of court. I'd say over 90% of the cases settle out of court.
So why people should not do this themselves?
No, this is not one of those things you can do yourself.
And you're a certified specialist.
Well, I am in personal injury and wrongful death, not specifically in medical malpractice, but I am certified as a specialist by the State Bar.
Right, but today we're talking about medical malpractice, and there are people out there thousands of listeners that listen to the show. You don't know who it is. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's someone that you know. Maybe it can happen to you. You know, write the number down. It's 602-325-1141. It's Barry Lewin, LEWIN law.com. He does free consultations. What are your final words real quickly?
Wow, that was fast.
I know. He says it's fast. That's okay. It is fast when you do it. Next time you come on longer, it is awesome because it's very interesting as well. And if you've got something that you might think you have a case, you won't know until you ask. He does free consultations. His number is 602-325-1141.